This is NASCAR on Prime.
Welcome to NASCAR on Prime. Practice and qualifying for Sunday's Food City 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway, the world's fastest half mile and the last great Coliseum. Cars beginning to roll from Group 1. Two practices, Group 1 and Group 2, 25 minutes each, and then we'll turn things around for 2 laps of qualifying. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bristol. We're excited to be here. You could turn the heat up. It's 45 degrees. It's going to be 77 on Sunday, but never mind. We got a job to do, and that is get this track in shape to race on Sunday. With Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, I'm Mike Joy. What we saw last night in the Truck Series was wild. The top groove worked great for the first 3 laps after every restart, and then the bottom groove with the traction compound came in, and that became the preferred line. So where are we going today?
We're going to go in both grooves. I think you need to be really good on the bottom to be able to make sure that you do what you need to do for qualifying and get that rhythm down. But you're going to have to be able to run up top a little bit to understand what you need to know about your car and the differences in the handling and the differences in the rhythm that you need to run up top.
Well, I like what you meant there, Kevin. It is a different kind of setup to run up top versus on the bottom. You need a freer setup to run around that bottom and rip that bottom line in that traction compound. Up high, you need to be a little tighter, if you will, and a little bit more pull in the rear, a little bit more stability up there when you're running right by the wall within inches. But I love this racetrack. Man, the view of this place, the last great Coliseum, this is without a doubt the granddaddy of them all. Love this place.
So the surface here is concrete all the way around. Prior to trucks getting on track yesterday, NASCAR and Bristol Motor Speedway applied the PJ1 track bite compound to the bottom 4 feet of the racetrack only. And that's what produced some really interesting racing here last night.
Yeah, and this is the way that we used to do this, and the goal to put that PJ1 instead of just the resin. With the PJ1, it lasts a little bit longer and allows, the reason they put the resin down is to try to get the rubber down on the racetrack. We remember last year, now we all loved it. The tires didn't last but about 35 laps and they had to manage their tires. But
it's not quite as temperature sensitive, this PJ1
True.
versus a resin. And that's, again, you just said it's freezing cold here this weekend. I think that's a big reason why they did put it down this way.
And the other goal is to make the bottom lane and the top lane more even. So as the race goes on, it gives you something other than just that top lane to have to follow a car. You can dive down to the bottom and make a pass, hopefully with the lanes being more even.
The last part of that conversation that I do love about this traction compound on the bottom is it eventually wears off. This track is forever changing. Throughout these 500 laps around this place, it will be changing for these competitors.
Now, the reason they put the track pipe down is this track has progressive banking. The last time it was resurfaced with concrete, the top groove is banked several degrees more than the bottom groove. So, absent the traction compound, the top of the track would always be the fastest way around. Now, well, I guess you have choices. Got to make the most of them.
Yeah, it's not much, but it is a little bit more. What is it, 24 to 28 on the top?
All right, I bet it's flat where Regan Smith's standing.
Well, Mike, it's very loud where I'm standing. I can tell you that much right now. Of course, Bristol, one of the loudest tracks we come to. Tyler, fresh off a fourth-place finish last week. A lot to think about in this practice session today. The traction compound, top, bottom, where you want your car to work the best. How do you prioritize that when you get out there?
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously you want to figure out what your car's going to do on the bottom of the racetrack. That's where the runs are going to start, we would think, tomorrow. So it just kind of all depends on how much marble buildup's on the racetrack. If it, you know, if it's clean, you know, you'll be able to go up there and try it. But I would expect a lot of marbles up there for a bit. But we'll see.
All right, good luck in practice. Later back to our crew chief. What do you got for us?
Well, Regan, it's Saturday and it's practice, and a lot of the agendas are the same. You've got 25 minutes, you've got one set of Goodyear tires, and here running about 15 seconds a lap. If your car's good, you can run 80, 85 laps during this 25 minutes. But I think the biggest thing the guys were talking about is the traction compound in the bottom groove. Right now, everybody's right around the bottom, but I think they know if you're going to win this race tomorrow, you have to run the bottom, the middle, and the top. The question, guys, who's going to be the first to venture up there and see what kind of grip's at the top of the racetrack?
I was looking at Stenhouse's lap times right there at the top of the board. You see him at a 14:98, the first fastest lap. He's all the way down to a 16-second already, second off. Falling off, fall off's good.
Kyle Larson, second quick. Second in the truck race last night, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Trying for the triple. He's going to run the Xfinity race and the Cup race. Trying for the weekend sweep, but came up one spot short last night.
Stay on Larson for a second as I'm talking about him. I heard you, and I'm looking at his lap times overall on a long run. Really happy with what I see out of this 5-car, Kevin.
Well, it doesn't take long to start making a bunch of laps, and as a driver, I always wanted to make a bunch of laps and get into that rhythm like we talked in the opening. But as you run this first run, you probably remember just being out of breath.
Oh,
it takes you a little bit to get the breathing and everything under control and get into a rhythm to be comfortable with the car. And that's really when you start to make those consistent lap times, which is what you need to do here. Be able to run. You want to run fast, but you need to be able to run consistently in the same spot.
So I saw one driver try the top a couple of laps ago. It was Noah Gregson. He came off turn number 2, and it looked like he stopped compared to the drivers that were wrapping the bottom. Larry?
Yeah, Mike, as we know, Kyle Larson in this 5 dominated this race in September the last time we were here a little, 460 laps. And by lap 25 of the race, he had moved to the top. I talked to his crew chief, Cliff Daniels, this morning. They talked this week. They want to come here and try to make this 5-car run on the bottom. I know that's very uncharacteristic to Kyle Larson. He said, I know I can run the top. I need to figure out how to run the bottom and run it consistently.
And watching him over the years, I agree with that statement. I mean, nobody gets around here on that outside line better than him. Saw it in the truck race last night. He caught Chandler Smith there at the end, but Chandler was holding a pretty wheel out there. He had nothing showing.
Ricky Stenhouse with the fastest individual lap. Second in the best 10 and best 15 consecutive lap rankings to Kyle Larson.
Yeah, like you said, Clint, it's pretty amazing that they fell off that second so quick.
I was watching him go through the corner right there. You see a lot of wheel in the car as they're going through that traction compound. Another thing that I've noticed is you can kind of see how it spreads out. Starts on the bottom. You see that bottom on the left side tire that's blacker down there than it is on the outside where the right side tires go. But that's starting to move up there, and the right side tires are finding that grip as well. Speeds are high, grip is high, confidence is high.
Yeah, and I like to run, especially in the traction compound down there. I always like to put the left side tire on that yellow line, especially from the 3/4 mark of the corner, 5/8 mark of the corner to the exit. It feels like it will tow that car around the corner when you hit it right. So bottom, you got to drive in a little bit easier, get that left front tire, put on that yellow line, go back and rush as much partial throttle through the center of the corner, and as soon as you feel that car rotate, you'll be able to put that car down. And you want to unwind the wheel off the bottom so that it doesn't have that snap loose.
And if you miss that, it's like you miss the track. And that thing is tight and plowing all the way through the corner, and you're like, man, I want to redo.
One thing that is not tight is the scoring pylon. It's half a second from top to near the bottom. That's a pretty big spread for here.
Yeah, it really is. Especially, I tell you what, for NASCAR in general, the lap times that we've seen the spread qualifying practice, doesn't matter if it's a 1.5 mile short track at Martinsville, they have been really, really tight. So good point there, Mike. I think it's a big part of this traction compound and the way cars are handling versus missing that bottom. You hook it, it might get loose. I think it kind of throws these teams for a loop. It's something different that their simulation can't simulate.
Kyle Larson ran 30 laps and pulled in as we watch Riley Hurst. He's starting the 12th on the board.
Now, I'm a big fan, when a window of opportunity, there's not a rule change this year. The window of opportunity for all these teams narrows up. The simulation is perfected, and it just keeps honing it in tighter and tighter and tighter. That's why you see these lap times as tight as they are. Throw something different at them, like this traction compound here at Bristol. Again, that simulation program doesn't know how much grip is in this racetrack, and it changes.
Look at his wheel right there, Clint. I've never seen somebody, we've got these kind of oblong, oval-shaped wheels now. They get
like it's been in a wreck already.
It's upside down. That's upside down from how you would typically run it. So Ryan Preece,
depends on how much kind of belly you got.
Well, I mean, it's still flatter on the top and the bottom.
Did you run a flat? I didn't like the flat wheel. I felt like the thing was I was driving a wrecked car.
You run that flatter wheel on the top. You kind of you thin down and make the grip narrower so that you can see the dash. And a lot of times, you got to be able to see the dash. With the way that I ran my car, you wanted to be able to see the dash, and so it didn't get in the middle of your pit road speed or something that you wanted to see.
Max Pappas, this company makes a lot of these steering wheels for a lot of the drivers that come to him last Saturday. He says he has 97 different styles of racing wheels to accommodate everybody.
Max was a genius.
Yep.
He found that loophole in racing, and boy, did he take advantage of it. Every single car, what was it, Schroeder? They had the same steering wheel forever. Every car that I was ever in, Kevin, it was my whole life. And it's heavy, it was huge, awkward, didn't look good, wasn't sexy. He changed the game.
Not only that, Richard Petty had a wheel with 3 spokes, but the spokes were equal distance apart. Yeah. So when the car spun out at Daytona, when he and David Pearson crashed in '76, Max explained this story last Saturday. Richard didn't know which way the wheel was turned because all the spokes were equally separated. So it was Richard that had been put a little stripe at the top of the wheel when the wheel was straight. He started that, talked to Max about it, and Max was an orange stripe on every one of Max's wheels. Right dead center.
Let's just face it, pretty much everything started with King.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah, it seems like Richard, the Petty group or the Wood Brothers created most of the things that we do that are really good.
Well, everybody copied the people that were winning the most, and there they were.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that wheel, and we'll actually have different grips. So a lot of guys squeeze the wheel hard, so they'll want softer grip. Jeff Gordon used to have the steering wheel molded to his hand. So there's a lot of different grips, and this is a bigger wheel, especially compared to Ryan Preece's.
So this is a Max Pappas wheel. Recognize the sticker there on the spoke and the orange stripe at the top. Way to go, Max. He has now expanded. He's building racing seats. He's building hubs to mount these steering wheels on the shaft with a conical fitment so that it can't not be attached. It's, he's just innovating. He's doing great things.
And the other thing, the wheel is designed as a crash device as well. So that wheel is, if you hit something head on or sideways, it's designed to actually fold up and move with a high impact. Because as a driver, you brace yourself with that wheel. So definitely need it. See all those stripes on Brad's wheel there.
Look how much smaller it is.
Yeah, his is a lot smaller, but you'll see the white and the blue tape right there. That's so he knows where to hold his wheel on a pit stop to keep those wheels and tires straight for the tire changer and the carrier to be able to get the wheels in and out of the fenders. But he's loose. He's also really loose right now, working that wheel hard.
Sure is.
All right, now here's
We're in Fontana, California, home of the California Speedway for today's Auto Club 500. It's another great day for racing. Pit strategy could be a major factor in this race, Barney.
Well, you're right. Fuel mileage is a big concern for a lot of teams. All the green flag racing means they'll have to be very careful when they decide to pit for fuel.
The 63 car is having some trouble in the points this year.
Yeah, those guys have been working so hard this year. It's a shame it doesn't really show in points. Just seems they can't keep that car out of trouble on race day. Maybe their luck will change today.
Casey Mears has not had much of a year so far on these speedway tracks.
Yeah, I really feel bad for those guys this season. They come to these tracks and work so hard, but they just never seem to get the car exactly right.
Hey guys, just to add to that also, they followed that up on the radio when they sent him back out and told Ricky, we have less than 20 laps left on these tires that you can run. Don't run any more than you have to on this current run. Of course, they made an adjustment for the handling things that we were talking about.
11 minutes to go. 30 laps is the most, 34 laps is the most going to go run. McDowell, 11th on the board, 15:25. Currently lapping at about 16:40.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Start here in the Cup Series. Andy Street.
Well, let's see how they'll line up for the start.
Veteran Griffin will be his spotter.
Starting out front are the DuPont Chevrolet and the Lowe Chevrolet.
The first time in this car it's a huge undertaking to. You can do all the
Kevin Harvick, the NASCAR Winston Cup points leader, will line up in the third spot.
Just how edgy it is and how much different it rides in the Xfinity cars.
Starting the race from row 3 are the Dale Jr. Chevrolet and the Dodge Dealers UAW Dodge.
Into the corners here at Bristol.
The fourth row has the Granger Ford and the 99 car.
Now he's a double dipper. He's going to start 13th in the Xfinity race today.
Starting the race from row 5 will be the Team Rusty Dodge and the UPS Ford. In row 6 we have the 77 car and the Singular Wireless Chevrolet.
Look at the marbles they were talking about. Look at all that up there. A lot of marbles.
Starting from row 7 will be the Old Tail Dodge and the DeWalt Power Tools Ford.
And that's just wear off the tire.
In the 8th row are the Sears Craftsman car and the Kellogg Chevrolet.
A lot of times that stuff will ball up.
It's that stuff, yeah. It's the traction compound.
In the 9th row, we have the Sterling Marlin Dodge and the 57 car.
When that starts to happen with the racetrack, it becomes difficult to move up the racetrack to see what you have on the top.
In the 10th row are the M&M's Ford and the Tide Pontiac.
That you won't be able to move up the track and see what your car's like up there for this.
Starting the race from row 11 are the Interstate Battery Chevrolet and the Caterpillar Dodge.
And his current laps
the 12th row has the Pfizer Ford and the Georgia Pacific Dodge. Starting the race from row 13 will be the Rubbermaid Sharpie Ford and the Motorcraft Ford.
Haven't seen the speed out of the Austin.
In row 14 we have the 43 car and the Dodge Dealers UAW Dodge.
Other places to be able to have a good weekend.
Starting from row 15 will be the Stacker 2 Dodge and the 25 car.
Get yourself in the fast group for practice. It gets you a better qualifying.
In the 16th row are the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet and the America Online Chevrolet.
And I've watched this and I have opinions, you know me.
In the 17th row are the Pennzoil Chevrolet and the Target Dodge.
That car got out from underneath. Hold on to it. Shane's pretty loose.
In the 18th row are the BAM Racing Dodge and the 4 car.
I think it's the advantage goes to the better cars.
Starting the race from row 19 are the U.S. Army Pontiac and the Net Zero Pontiac.
Keeping this thing mixed up, in my opinion, helps everybody.
The 20th row has the Haviland Dodge and the Valvoline Pontiac.
Mixed up, you know, whether it's practice sessions or
starting the race from row 21 will be the 91 car and the Hooters Ford.
Ricky Stenhouse, 14:98.
And finally, starting from the rear of the field will be the 02 car.
At Bristol since qualifying in September 3 years ago.
Well, I think it's that traction compound. You know, obviously 3 years ago we had this car, so it's nothing like that. But this traction compound changes the game. Usually, just like we talked about earlier, it's the resin. This is a different application that they put down. Equals a little bit more traction for these cars, but it will wear out.
Now, Josh Berry didn't have a particularly fastest lap. He's 18th out of 20, but the laps he's turning right now are only 6 to 7 tenths off of that lap. So he's on pace with most of the cars that are on track right now.
And I spoke to Josh a little bit about that, and he's like, hey, you know, a lot of times I just like to feel the car out and understand what I'm doing, and it's really not a representation of how much speed the car has in it. As we've seen on a week-to-week basis from qualifying, he does a great job of making sure the car's underneath him, not taking any chances, and being able to turn a big lap in qualifying based upon how his car ends up in practice.
And looking at this, his luck's got to change. He's been in a bad spot a couple of times.
You keep knocking on that door, it'll fix itself.
Yep.
He's a lot like Ryan Blaney. I feel like they've had a lot of really good speed in their car. They've had some unfortunate situations, but I would consider, I know the Wood brothers are their own team, but out of that Penske bunch, I would consider him having been the best, second best car compared to Blaney all year.
I think until that turns around, I'm going to stay away from anything that has a number 1 and a 2 in it.
There you go.
Let me sell Alex Bowman at you one time. He's pretty fast. Look over here, best consecutive 20, number 2, best consecutive 30, number 3. A 70-year leader, Larson, 76 on 30 for him, really close.
Here's his radio.
It's game time. Green flag in the air. Green flag.
He's got one up. Number 40's coming up.
Now he ran 40.
Still beside you. Picked off another position.
They're talking about borrowed time. They've got the Stenhouse as well.
Going
These
steady.
guys are
3
nervous
miles.
about wearing these tires out and going and getting yourself in trouble. So
All clear, buddy.
that will get better as we progress through this weekend.
Well, we kept saying that last year, too. It never got better, and that's the one thing that these cold temperatures bring up.
So there he is. We look at tire wear. What are we going to have for the race?
Yeah, Mike, I think we're going to have
Number 16 is outside.
And I do believe the tire wear will get better. You know, we got to change the weapons.
They're on both sides.
And those are probably talking about going back to reapply the bottom group in the morning. But guys, we're monitoring a lot of teams down here.
Still there.
They are using the scripts in no rear grip.
You're clear.
All the way through the corner. There's not a lot of hand drivers right now with the handle of their race car.
And that is really what happens when this car wears out. And I think that they probably thought that the racetrack was going to be better than what it is. But we've talked about this a lot of places that we've been to this year. When the right rear tire wears out, and the left rear, when they all wear out, the car just shuts off and you have no other thing to do other than slow down.
And this one right here, we're right along with Keselowski. He's probably the rudest one I've seen out there. We were far out of him earlier, and it was ugly.
Number 18
They've got an
is inside.
interesting scheme on this car. I know you see Oscar. It's not hot
Okay, we're clear.
It's a BLT. They could let us into the
Slow down low.
Yes.
The 18 car is still there. Okay, we lost a spot. They're all around.
You see his eyeballs, too.
Bacon.
As a kid, I just hear that Oscar Mayer song in my head.
I said, my old man and I towed the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile one time.
You did?
That's all I can think. I've never seen a BLT Sanders drive down the highway. Yet, there is some tire wear. I think tires look pretty wore out. Lap time is pretty sporty. Those are new.
So only 3 drivers made runs of 30 consecutive laps or more. Larson, Bowman.
Leader's running about 2.5 seconds in front of you.
I watched this. Watch this. He gets off in the corner. feeling at this place.
And it's not. And I'm telling you guys, this is a lot like last year, and the things that happened with the way that the tire wear and everything was in practice. And we kept thinking that it was going to get better. But when I look at the racetrack, I mean, we've had Xfinity practice, we've had a truck race, we've had a lot of things happen on this racetrack already.
Well, it's funny you say that. There's only one car on the racetrack. There's still 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes of practice left. These guys have had enough. We're going to go back there and think about it.
Similar temperatures this weekend to last year's spring race with the tire issue. We had 54 lead changes last spring, the track record. And then in the fall race, only 5 caution flags, tied for the fewest.
Same tire. And when you talk about the temperature is the big thing. It's very cold right now. And last year, at the end of the year, the temperature was way up, and that allows the rubber to lay down on the racetrack. But right now,
did you see the difference in the surface of both racetracks? Tons of rubber on the outside of that first one in the spring. Looked pretty clean in the fall. To your point, buddy.
And when we watched the Xfinity practice earlier, you would see those cars laying rubber off the racetrack, and you can still kind of see the rubber on the exits of the corners where they would run the high through. You can still see those streaks, and really all the Cup cars have done is pick it up.
You know, I think this is the first weekend I can recall where the teams are saying, all right, we have too much practice time. We've done all we can. We've done all we can with what we've got.
Yeah, when we wear the tires like that, as you see most of our cars just sliding all over the place.
You see his wheel lock in the center of the corner. Looks pretty tight, and then all of a sudden snaps loose on the exit.
And for all young drivers at home, don't run with your shield up.
Well, this problem is we put too dark a shield on and the spark plug. They can't see up in there.
Yep, fix that.
Well, Allen head wrench. Put a shield.
Say that it's right wrong. I just said why. He's got nothing. Can't see.
That was frustrating. You'd be like, it'll be all right. Then you get out on the racetrack and you can't see the little details of the racetrack because your shield's too dark.
My eyes were really sensitive, so I could never wear a dark shield. That's how I knew immediately. If I ever see a mirrored lens, look at this. That's exactly what we were wanting to see. That is too much tire wear, fellas.
Just 4.5
you see him smiling right now, but I promise you about lap 40 of the race when that tire looks like that, they say we need 10 more. That's why he's going to be mad.
Off the racetrack before practice is up.
All right, time will expire here with an empty racetrack.
Falling back. Focus on your marks, buddy. Okay, we're clear.
What if we could have shades like these for a fraction of big brand prices? For Shady Rays, you can't. We're an independent company, so we do things differently. We offer high-quality polarized shades for a reasonable price. We personally replace shades that get lost or broken. So far, we've racked up over 300,000 5-star reviews. I founded Shady Rays so we can have sunglasses that can stand up to whoever writes programs. Order now and get 20% off site-wide at shadyrays.com.
Your right front tire's wearing down. Try another line or you won't last.
Racetrack to come to, and I'm
Yeah, some boarding there. It'll be interesting to see kind of how this second practice session goes. I felt like there was a decent amount of rubber from the Xfinity cars and not a lot of marbles. And then, like, as we ran, I felt like maybe we picked the Xfinity rubber up and
Easy, buddy. That left front tire seen some action.
So we'll see if it gets better or worse this next practice session. And obviously a little warmer tomorrow and a little sunnier. So we'll see how it goes. But Sunday before Sunday Camaro's fast. I said that for a long time. But yeah, so far so good.
Thanks, Ricky. Larry.
Yeah, Regan, I'm here with Brad Keselowski. He's talking with his crew chief, Jeremy Bellins. Brad, third quickest, but you only ran 19 laps. What do you think we got here?
Larry, you tell me. I don't know. You know, we came here and tested a year and a half ago.
The car as best you can,
The tires wouldn't go 25, 30 laps. So we thought we were really smart. We came back to the spring race and were prepared for that, and that's what it did. And then, you know, after last year's spring race when the tires wore out, we came here with the 17 car and tested. The same thing happened. And we came back thinking, okay, be ready for tire wear in the summer race. The tires could have ran 200 laps, 300 laps. So we have no idea. We really don't. You know, I joke with people, one of the things that makes motorsport so much different than other sports is that it's like a weekly science experiment. And one small variable can change everything. And the tires, that's not a small variable. That's a big variable. And we're seeing that in action.
Well, guys, it's days like this. I'm glad I've decided to talk about it. I don't have to figure it out no more.
Thanks, Larry. It's been a tough week here in NASCAR. You know, everybody in the garage knew John Edwards. And unsurprisingly, John knew and cared for everybody. For more than 30 years, he was a staple of the NASCAR family, working with Jeff Gordon since Jeff's second season in the Cup Series. John was right there, always, standing tall next to Jeff for every race, every iconic moment of Jeff's career. But it's John's friendship that we will remember most. His smile, his compassion, the way he called most everybody by their last name. John was not just part of the NASCAR family, part of the Fox family as well for 6 years. He helped make possible some memorable moments that we had on air. He then returned to Hendrick Motorsports to work with Kyle Larson and help lead all of Team Hendrick's publicity endeavors in the Cup Series. John's impact on the sport, the drivers, and all of us will live on forever. John was 53. Cheers, Edwards.
$6 never tasted so good. IHOP's Breakfast Faves combo is now.
Iron made this play.
We'll turn the track over for 2 laps of qualifying for the Cup cars. Benny Parsons used to call it Big Mo. Momentum. And there's the driver right there that has it.
Nothing better. There is nothing better than a momentum in this sport.
And it'll work again this weekend.
It will. And we saw this race as to what right now we've got some sun on the racetrack, so we'll see if that helps any of the rubber go down. But Denny Hamlin last year in this race, when it was a high wear type situation again, he was the guy.
Final pit stop for Denny Hamlin made the difference. His crew got him out first. He was able to hold off all comers.
Got a great restart there at the end, and second, third, and fourth got to racing each other, and he was able to just drive off into the sunset. And that's what the great teams do. You know, he was able to get down pit road, get in his pit box. They had a great pit stop, get out of his pit box, and they were able to capitalize on that.
Most wins after their 600th career start. Richard Petty had 51. Kevin, 24. Jeff Gordon only 11, and Denny Hamlin now 8.
That was a late bloomer, apparently.
Yes.
Check your fuel gauge. Not much gas left.
Chase Elliott, 5th quickest in the early going here. Some laps 2 through 6. Kind of in the sweet spot for fastest lap here. And in this group, everybody on their 4th lap ran their quickest.
No surprise here. Chase Elliott, I would be probably smiling too. Before I even got in this race car, watched my two teammates, Bowman and Larson, both at the top of the board in that last session. So it didn't surprise me that he pulled out in this racetrack and found speed right away.
All right, Larry Mack, what's going on?
Yeah, Mike, this is the right front tire on the 60 car of Ryan Priest. And what we're seeing is if your car is tight, sliding the front tire, you're wearing the right front out. If you're loose, if the back end's hung out, then the right rear tire is wore out. Now, if you go back to this race a year ago, if you remember, in the last 100 laps, we didn't have a lot of tires that came apart. What happened, the drivers adjusted their approach and their style of driving, and then teams made adjustments to the race car, and I think that's what you're going to see a lot of after this practice session for tomorrow. They're going to start adjusting on these race cars to try to help this right here.
Oh, man, it's all coming back to me, guys. Watching these guys as they tried to figure that out and tried to pull the reins back on that old pony. You got to slow that thing down. It's in there. You can take it. It's there for the taking. But if you do it early, you're going to pay the price later.
Joey Logano had a big week. He and Roger Penske, along with the previous year's champ, Ryan Blaney, and their IndyCar team and their Daytona 24-hour winning team all went to the White House this week for a celebration with President Trump. There are some of the pictures. You probably saw a lot of video on every news channel of some of the attendees. In football, Wolf got a lot of screen time, so did the two Steves from NASCAR.
Pretty much part of the press conference.
Well, yeah, as the president was talking about delaying tariffs, boy, auto racing got a whole lot of maybe unexpected exposure from that White House visit.
Yeah, I can't imagine standing there while they were doing that press conference. But Paul Wolf, he looked like he was head of security.
I would have loved to have been with them for one reason alone. I remember when I met Trump at Daytona, the respect that he gave that man standing next to him, and that's the captain, Roger Penske. I guarantee you there was questions that he asked that guy that day. I'll always vividly remember that, and the respect that he gave that Penske. That man knows business. Absolutely.
Well, he knows how to win, too. And
it wouldn't be there if he did.
Pretty much had all of his guys up there for all the winter celebrations.
Did you know that on at least one occasion, Roger was approached by the Republican Party to run?
Running off fumes, buddy.
Wow. I've always said since I've met him, that guy, he could lead this country.
And his response, probably not his exact words, but basically, an answer to Congress? I don't think so.
He's too busy.
Number 5 is outside. You're dropping back. What's wrong?
Knowing what you know about the tires, if you're going to make an adjustment on your car, you better make it quick, because this looks like it's going to become a tire conservation battle if the racetrack continues like that. So
I don't know which direction to go, though, Kevin. You know what I mean here? I mean, the track is obviously the tire wear is high, the grip level and the traction compound is probably wearing out. You're kind of chasing the track a little bit, so you have to be careful to maybe get out of the box too far on your setup.
Yeah, well, I think in these scenarios, you want to just plan for tire conservation. And the best way to do that is just to have a plan and slow down.
Watch the guys on the track.
Get to the beginning of this run and just try to make your tires go as long as they can. That's what we saw last year.
These cars, good run here last spring.
Yeah. I'm watching over your shoulder, Mike. I just saw Suarez tank swap. These cars are all over the place. Yeah. It's like if they miss that traction compound the least little bit getting into three.
Number 97, come by. Clear all around.
Well, you see how slow he is right there in a two-car approach to him. That thing is real nervous getting into the corners.
9 sets of new tires, plus your qualifying scuffs. That means you need to get 50 laps out of each set, and we are seeing excessive wear at 40.
That's not enough, Mike.
That doesn't add up, Clint.
Oh, Clint, I can figure that one out. We're going to need to back off a little bit, Doug.
It wasn't just Suarez. Ross Chastain, his teammate, just had a big slide up the hill down in turn 1. He's one of those trackhouse cars optimal right now.
And you heard Brad Keselowski talk about that earlier in his interview. You see Ross shaking his car around like he's been up the racetrack, but all over the place there with the one of Chastain. But we heard Brad talk about this earlier, and it's a little bit confusing for the teams. They prepare for what they had in the fall. Couldn't wear the tires out. You come back and as you see, 23 car all over the back bumper of Chastain.
He's in the way. He has a handful.
Suarez has a big moment right here in front of Austin Cindric.
Yeah, he's just got no grip. And the one car looks the exact same way. Those cars look to be some of the soonest cars to wear the tires out and not be in the racetrack. But back to Brad and his comments.
Oh, yeah.
What do you do? I think right now, if it were me, I would prepare for a high tire wear, conservation, whatever I had to do to just take care of the tire.
Tell me what that means.
Well, that means slow down. And that
that's a given, but how about a balance for your car?
I want my car just to be balanced, and I want it to be balanced to get the most tire wear out of all 4 tires. I want to use all 4 tires so I don't have to grind on the right front tire, so I don't have to slide it with the right rear. And I want as much balance in the race car as possible. So if I'm loose, I want to get it back to be tight, as you see Ty Dillon off the pace there.
What you're saying is if it's loose, it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse. If it's tight, it's going to get worse. Find a happy middle ground on the balance.
That's right. Find a middle ground, because Larry said earlier, as we're on board with Kyle Busch here, Larry said it exactly right earlier. If the car's loose, it's going to wear the right rear tire out. Personally, I'd rather wear the right front tire out, but we all know the risk of blowing the right front tire going in the corner. But
I will say this too: you can also drive your car differently, right? If your car's loose getting into the corner, you're going to have to be a little more straighten your line up a little bit getting in. Don't be leaning on that right rear. In other words, don't turn the wheel really hard and get it over on the right rear. Vice versa, if it's tight in the middle, that's where it's problematic in my opinion. I have to go in and make an adjustment. When it's tight in the middle and your wheel lock, that doesn't get better. There's not really anything you can do to fix that. Dime in the corner, nothing works.
Remember the story we told last week about the Alabama the first Southern 500? He qualified last. Johnny Vance in a Plymouth.
You're clear.
But he didn't wear out his tires. Everybody else was popping tires, had to change them, and he just ran his way around, ran his race, ran his pace, and won. Now, the sport is way different than it was in 1950, but, you know, that doesn't sound like a bad strategy for tomorrow or Sunday, knowing what we know right now.
Well, when I first started, Kevin was in the sport. There was a lot of horsepower. Essentially, you're kind of doing the same thing, right? Back then, we wore the tires out with horsepower because the tires would literally spin. You would spin it with the throttle, so you had to take care of the car with the throttle. Here, not really so much with the, the power difference, but it is with the wheel input. You have to take care of find a happy medium with the wheel.
Well, you want the car to go as long as that's the new game. It's not how fast does it go. It's who can make their car go the longest to be able to make the tires last the longest. And that's what we saw in the spring last year was the cars that could make their tires last the longest and without having the cords showing through the tires. Because when those cords get on the tires, it's like driving on ice.
But when it warms up 15 degrees tomorrow, the whole conversation could be thrown out the window.
But I like this. This makes this a thinking man's race. Not just hold it wide open and drive it as fast as you can.
10 degrees I'm seeing. It's 10 degrees warmer tomorrow. But I think it's going to play a big role. That is not what you want. And by the way, I don't mind this. Back in the day, our old tires, we get to that point, and they would blow out.
Yeah, right.
These things just come delaminated, and they run out of tire, and the cords stay with them.
Well, there's plenty of rubber, but
that's where it is.
Yeah, it's in the sweeper.
Yeah, it's like a cheese grater, just grinding the rubber off, and a lot of that, and this is because of the ambient temperature outside and the surface being cold.
Well, look how clean it is.
Yes.
Look how clean that track is, and you called it earlier in the first session there. Look, that shouldn't be that clean. Shouldn't be that white and then all the marbles up top.
But isn't this in part what drivers asked for? Give us a tire that wears.
I've always asked for it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's...
You can make a difference as a driver.
That's what you want from a driver's standpoint. You don't want it to be, like you said earlier, you don't want it to be hammer down every lap. You want to be able to make a difference in the driver's seat. When you can't make a difference, that's when it's frustrating.
So tomorrow, as Clint says, 10 to 15 degrees warmer, and the forecast tomorrow is just about identical to the weather conditions we had for last spring's race here.
And so interesting, the Xfinity cars before this practice put rubber down in both groups. We saw those cars leaving a bunch of rubber, so it's definitely a cut car situation with the temperature and the way that the tire is acting.
Ryan Blaney fastest in this group. His teammate Austin Cindric second. And Chase Elliott Chevy, Danny Hamlin by Busch.
The problem I see with this is the traction compound's down on the bottom, right? The marble's on the outside. It's going to have a tall order to get that outside cleaned up. But where I'm going with this is there's a lot of cars in trouble. They are really loose and in the way. That kind of reminds me, very reminiscent. This is one. Ty Dillon is struggling with his car. Very loose. See, look at that. Look how loose he is getting in the corner. If there's a car behind him bearing down on him, he's going to get in the back of him and spin him out. That is very reminiscent of the way this track used to be. You hold him up too long, you won't hold him up much longer.
Back there in the left rear.
What's broke? There's no tread on the tire. That's what's broke.
And things happen here so fast. I mean, last night in the truck race, we had a couple moving chicanes out there for the first 25 laps, and almost a couple of really big piles. Larry Mack.
Yeah, you see Ty Gibbs in that 54 car. Right now, he's 19th quickest. He ran 39 laps. He told them right after he completed.
This one's half
38. I'm coming in. Look at the right front. Something doesn't feel right. He was spot on.
The right front's wearing down. Keep an eye on it.
It's like a light switch. When the tread goes off the tire and that tire's done, it happens instantly, and you feel it from a driver's standpoint. You know when that tire is done, and that's that switch that you got to know to be able to tell your team to be able to pit or do what you need to do.
Well, if these tires are done at 40 laps, there's going to be a bunch of cars riding around on the rim before this race is over.
Better load that caution. Yeah, better load that Goodyear truck up and go get some more tires.
Look how much rubber is in the front of that race car.
Now, last year, Goodyear released an extra set of tires after stage 2. Same tire, same allocation that they had brought in the event of such an issue. Not sure what's going to happen here this weekend.
Judging off of what we've seen, I'd say that is in effect. It's definitely in the playbook for sure, but I don't mind this. I think everybody's going to be ready for it.
Should be about halfway on field.
That was the first time any of us had ever seen it. I mean, it unfolded right here on Fox, and we all got to see it, but I think it'll still be alive. I hope that it is. I thought, from my perspective, that was an interesting race, and it put it back in the driver's hands. Those old cagey veterans and experienced drivers are the ones that went right to the front.
Now, what about what Artie just showed us? Some of that rubber debris gets up on the top of the racetrack, but some of it goes right in the grill openings in these race cars.
Well, a lot of times there's some mesh in front of the radiator, and that stuff will all fall down into the pan of the radiator. A lot of times when you stop, it'll actually shoot out the front of the grill.
Yeah, we see it on pit stop.
Yeah.
With the brakes and all of it blows out the front of it. Tires, man. Tire wear. Loving it.
9.5 minutes to go here.
You'll see a lot of the pit signs are actually designed to block that grill screen, and when that rubber does fly off, you'll notice that they try to block that grill screen to keep the debris going in front of the car to keep the tire changes from slipping.
All right, Larry, crew chief, we got wear. We saw what happened last year in the spring. Not much. It's not going to be a lot warmer tomorrow. What are things that you can do? We've talked about things that we can do. Can you be more conservative on cameras? Can you do things like that and make these tires last longer?
Yeah, I mean, Clint, a lot's going to be on the driver's shoulders. I think that's one reason Denny Hamlin rebelled 1 year ago is nobody is as good at conservative tires as he is. But yeah, I think it's worse today than it was on Saturday a year ago. We saw some remnants 1 year ago on Saturday, but nothing to the degree that we have right now. You're just going to have to do things that's easier on the tire with air pressure, with shock adjustments. You know, your setup, you can't change it. You're locked in. The cars are impounded right now, but there's things you can do to make it a little easier on those tires.
Yeah, and I think that some of that is more grip on the bottom with that traction compound, not just the resin.
And watching Chris Buescher here, maybe they made some changes after Brad Keselowski and his other teammate Ryan Preece were out there. Oh, well, maybe not. A little bit of looseness there, too.
Number 97,
the throttle's going to have to be on an eggshell. You're going to get 3 or 4 good laps out of this, and you better take care of them. And the goal is to drive the car straight. Don't slip it Don't slide the back. Don't push the front. Drive it just fast enough. Whatever that pace is, that's what you do.
So most drivers, from experience, have a tendency to either drive the car off the right front or drive the car off the right rear. Which do you want to be here?
He always drove his off the right front, not off the right rear. Just driver, I think it's your background. You know, he came from the late model asphalt background. I came from dirt. If I didn't feel that right rear, that was my balance, right? I drove everything, all my feel was off the right rear, and drastically different. And our comments were exactly different. They were opposite of one another on a Monday night.
Larry?
Yeah, Mike, there's one other thing that they can do, and I'm looking at Joey Logano's right front off the 22 car. Joey ran 35 laps, and I've seen this on a lot of the right rears and the right fronts. It's the inside that's worn out. It's not the outside. So what they can do, and this is not good for the car turning, but they can maybe take a little camber out, stand that tire up just a little bit. That takes some of the load off the inside. Yeah, you want it a lot of camber because that helps the car turn through these corners, but I think they may have to get back off that a little bit.
Wallace 21st overall, 15:29.
Gas tank is getting empty.
The 97 car is gaining on
races like it does right now. I don't think it matters where you start. I don't think it always matters for pit stalls and things like that. But
number 97 is still there.
If you start in the back and this becomes a conservation race like it was a year ago, then your strategy starts to be able to take care of the tires and put yourself in a position to win by taking care of the car and driving it in a different way than
Let's get a
everybody
new
else.
left
Well,
rear
let's talk
tire.
about that as we ride along here with Chris Busher, who's building submarines this week. This is the only track left that has two pit roads. Front pit is where most of the fastest qualifiers pit.
Way to get ready, buddy.
Then there's the backside pit. And other than the end stalls, two pit roads, and under caution, you have to come in at turn 2 and come all the way around and exit. Under green, you can just come down your own pit road and exit on the same side. So under green flag, just your side of the track. But under caution, enter at turn 2, everybody, and exit at turn number 1. Is it a big deficit to have to put on the backside?
Yeah, and you see these hot spots right here that we have highlighted, and basically that's because this corner right here you can run faster, so that the speed of what you can run because of the arc of that corner allows you to drive the car faster with the speeds in this section right here. So those hot spots become that way because you accelerate into the corner and you have to decel out of the corner. So if you're a little too fast getting into the corner, you get a speeding ticket. If you're a little too slow coming out of the corner in turn 4, you get another speeding ticket. So lots of places to make mistakes here from an up and down standpoint on your speed.
Number 38 wants to get by you.
You gotta bring it in. We're way low on gas.
Okay, we lost a spot.
Here. We don't have very many cars
They're on both
left
sides.
on the racetrack to be able to have enough tires left to keep practicing. So as I look out the window and you look here, there's definitely no rubber on the racetrack. The only thing that's on the racetrack, on the bottom, you see that 4 feet of PJ Warren where the right side tires have been. So this is an interesting night for the drivers and the crew chiefs, and you have to block that out right now. You see all the tire marbles up in the top of the racetrack. And as we see the tires, I believe that is from the tires.
Yeah, totally. I mean, look at the tires of that right there. It has to go somewhere. Look at the marbles on the other one. I mean, it's all just cheese gravy, like you said, just peeling it right off of those tires on the top of the racetrack. But again, it goes back to the simulation and all the speed where it's found and affected in these race cars. It's all in
Faster cars come on the track. Careful, buddy.
How we
They're all around.
track and work on this and work on the cameras that Larry talked about, trying to make these things last longer. That's out the window. With today's day and age in the simulation, on things like this, when these tires are that drastically different, it throws everybody for it. It's back to the old school way. Let's figure this out.
3 minutes to go and only a couple of cars left on the racetrack. Car was pulling in. one car left on the racetrack. Mr. Bell. And Bell's last lap, 16:50. That's right about in the middle of it. Well, 16. You see a lot of 30s and 40s in the last few. These cars, well, they had a good run here last spring.
Yeah, always really good here in Bristol, and I think in the last spring they were really the cars to beat. Ultimately, getting Hamlin prevailed just because of his, I don't know, I just think his knowledge and the way that he used the race. He's an old late model stock racer. That is very typical of a late model stock race, as you see him up in the wall right there. But he was the guy that car in the wall was the car that won the race.
There's a car that his car actually, Bubba Wallace, his right front was going down on that car. I mean, it was one after another. You could see him just starting to drop flies. They would take off. Man, those kids would take up there like gangbusters, and then they were in trouble and start falling back. And then the old KG veterans at the end of that thing put on a clinic. It was all all your old drivers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You're clear.
Now there's a step for you. In the 7th generation Cup car that we raced today, Showcase Racing was about half the laps at Bristol.
Well, it just tells you how good that Showcase Racing has been here. You watch Christopher Bell and
up another spot. 25 car. He's coming right.
All of those guys have led a bunch of laps here, so it's pretty amazing when you see a team that figures something out at a racetrack, and we've seen them do that running fast, and we saw them do that last year in the conservation game.
What a year they've had so far, winning 5 of the first 8. Denny Hamlin, 2 straight, plus the race here last spring, as we mentioned. Interestingly, no team has ever won 2 straight races with 2 different drivers within one season. Yeah. They're the teams that have 62% mark, 5 out of 8. Gets twice.
Hold it steady. 3 wide.
That was really good math, Mike. That was definitely outside of mine.
3 wide.
Quick percentage fighters.
165. 3 wide. Hold that line. Keep it up.
He's just looking at us like, that's pretty easy. Driver fortune. Later. That's one of those. Up in the marbles. That's one of those scenarios where it's like, guys, I told you this thing was done. Why do you keep making me drive this car?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Like Sam Flood used to say, turn left, turn left. We'll talk about cars. They turn right. We'll show replays and talk about it some more. All right, those of you watching on YouTube and Facebook, coverage will continue on Prime Video with qualifying getting underway shortly.
So we do things differently.
Go back and try to figure out how to call the race. That's an idea. You guys do bring it.
Like to the 16 quick in practice between the 2 combined sessions. Joey, you got out of the car. I saw you look at your tire. You kind of gave me a wide-eyed look. What do you guys do now to work on the car, prepare for tomorrow, not knowing what's going to happen?
And then you said it, not knowing exactly what's going to happen. You know, it seems like we have at least an idea of what can happen now, because we looked at the story once last spring with the tire wear the way it is going down the cords, and we'll probably go back and try to figure out how to call the race the best way. We don't exactly know what it's going to look like. But,
you getting out of position with that fast. Clear all around.
If this happens again tomorrow, we have an idea of the balance is there, but what if it doesn't? Then you start at the square one. A little bit on there. It'll be interesting, and we'll have a handful, but either way, I felt like our show runs the best day, at least in those conditions. Really fast on the long run. Not fast on the short run, but the long run. Long run was really good, so.
All right, good luck figuring all that out. I do like look, Joey's still smiling over here, Larry, but there's going to be some sleepless nights down here.
Well, Denny Hamlin, 41 laps of your 11 car. Right front makes me nervous. It's almost like Groundhog Day from a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, it looks the same, truthfully. I wouldn't have expected it, but certainly it looks like the formula is striking again. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting race, see how it all plays out. But there's marbles up at the top.
38 car, down low.
Obviously, the bottom is so it should be fun.
Okay.
And if it stays this way, how much is going to be on your shoulders? That's what you did an amazing job a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've always thought that the car and the driver have a 50-50 share of responsibility in it. But, yeah, I mean, I think everyone probably came here thinking we're going all out, but maybe that's not the case. I don't know, but certainly we're about to go all out here in qualifying just a few minutes, and we'll see after that.
Well, we know the thing we'll be watching tomorrow. Can Denny Hamlin do something he's never done in his career in 3 consecutive Cup races?
Al Pierce covered 56 straight Daytona 500s for his local newspaper, and then for Auto Week. Passed away Wednesday. Wrote 13 books about racing and ran the Nascar Award for career excellence of an automotive journalist. And was a winner of that award too, and a member of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Wednesday, Al Pierce passed at age 82.
We got some cars headed down pit road. Just 10 laps left.
Goof Andy Mensler. From your first step into the
front tires wearing down. Drive on the line or you won't last.
To your little one's first steps. To every boy who races. Life is a journey of seasons. Goof Andy is the wardrobe that grows with you. Tailored for every life.
Vacuum. Should we put some of that back on the tires? Not quite like that.
No, that's not.
Not the marbles. Just the thickness. Even on the road behind Brad.
No one outside.
See, he's looking for some room too.
Still there. Careful.
All right, Professor Boyer, dazzle us with a graphic.
Number 15, still there. Coming up on a car exiting pit road. Still beside you. Keep digging. Hey, that's more than enough spot. Keep digging. The 15 car is passing by. You're clear.
You better be careful over here.
Fuel is at half.
However, I put the 5 on here from the first session. You see how fast he took off over here and then started to fall off? Everybody learned in the second section. Remember, this is the middle. This is the median for everybody, the average speed. Anybody below that is in the good. But look at Denny Hamlin. We talked about him in the long run speed, the fact that he won this race. He's the purple car. Took off way slower than Kyle did in that first one because we started seeing his tire there. And then at the end of it, he was looking good over here on the long run. Look who else is looking good. The old 22 car right there. Logano's pretty sporty as well. Keep an eye on those cars. The long run speed on a tire wear racetrack scenario is very, very important.
All right, driver, now forget all of that and go run fast. You got 1 lap. You got 2, but I would say that it's going to be 1.
I can only hold my breath for the first one.
Josh Bilicki making his first start of 2025. He has 4 races at Bristol. This is the men's
Yeah, we got much longer on that left front tire.
raising awareness for the Testicular Cancer Society.
Just leave that alone.
Me too.
Well, it makes sense.
You see just how much trouble this racetrack can be, and he ran 2 laps right there. But I think as you go through the field here, I think you're going to see that first lap. That was a trend that we saw in the first race last year when we covered qualifying. That first lap was so important because the tires fall off so fast.
And he was 7/10 slower on his qualifying lap than his fastest practice lap. All right, Corey LaJoie making his 3rd start of the year. He raced at Daytona and Atlanta. Started top 10 in 2 of the last 3 Bristol races. This is the Schluter Systems Ford.
Extremely difficult scenario to be under for a race car driver. These cars, obviously they were all loose in in race conditions. You go out here in the first, you have to be fully committed, Kevin. You go out in qualifying trim, full commitment.
My rear's getting warm. Keep an eye out.
You're going to start the back of the pack, but you have to have that level of commitment to run the lap. Somebody is going to slip up and cost them dearly, just like we saw last year. I was talking to Chastain.
5 more laps.
Second lap is the fast one for LaJoie. Now, he practiced at the 2023 ARCA champ, last year's Xfinity Rookie of the Year, is making his Cup debut today in the C4 Energy Chevrolet.
Man, I don't know when my first Cup started. Bristol, Kevin. Woo! That is a tall board. It's going to learn somehow.
Yeah, trial by fire. And I think a lot of these kids, that's the way they learn nowadays, is just throw them in the fire and let them figure it out.
Got one outside. The 25 car that's got a run on you. They're on both sides.
So far,
that's a good lap.
I think it's a prime example of that thing sticks.
The 8 car, now look. Number 8 is still there. 8 days.
I think the cars that go really good, and I think you need to be disciplined that as much as this is going to be a tire conservation race as of today, I wouldn't want to put 2 laps on my tires. I'd only want 1 lap on my tires, especially knowing that you should be the fastest on the first lap.
Got one outside.
you got to be ready for it. You're going to need those tires.
Need them.
Yeah,
Need them. If it's going to be a thinking man's game, you better start thinking about it right now.
Riley Herbst making his first Bristol Cup start with
number 11,
and 6 Xfinity races here. This is the Lucy
Going inside.
Bring it in when you're ready.
Way up out of the grid, getting off the food and learning the action practice and having gas is really good.
It's like we talked about at the beginning of practice. You just don't want to overdrive the corners. You want to be able to get the car set in on that line in that traction compound to be able to not get sideways or push the front tire and get out of it. You want to be able to lock it in there and then get the speed off the corner.
This guy's got to be nervous. Last time he was in this hot rod, that thing was 45 degrees the wrong way. It was all over the place. Hopefully this thing sticks to that. Come on, baby.
3 wins and 10 top 10s and 27 Bristol starts for Brad in the Kroger Oscar Mayer Rustic Oven Ford.
Still really loose getting into the corner, but he held on to it, kept the speed up.
He practiced at 15:16.
Still a strong finish.
You gave it all you had. That's all we can ask.
He is left, Kevin.
15:09.
Very loose.
Yeah, I just...
A rare caution-free race.
Well, that's good news for all these race teams because that can mean one thing, no major wrecks.
The Sears Craftsman car really did a fantastic job keeping his car away from trouble all race long.
Yeah, you never quite know what's going to happen in these NASCAR Winston Cup races. When you finish a race and your car still looks brand new, you've done one heck of a job as a driver.
This has been an MRN broadcast of live NASCAR Winston Cup racing. Until next time, so long and have a great day.
In the Motorcraft pit lane for the Wood Brothers.
Yeah, he ran really well in this race last year and wound up with a tire problem at the wrong time. But
short tracker doesn't surprise me a bit.
We watched those cars tour late model stock events, and their classics, classic races are saving tires, and he is very good at that. He's won a bunch of these races having to be in tire conservation.
Whoa! Took it all the real estate off of 4. Still in the green, though. Top of the board he goes, Mike.
Didn't have a lot of speed in practice. 15:53 in practice, but Barry 15:05, half a second better.
Hey, he went for more, getting in at 3. I think he got loose and aborted.
If you guys are listening down there, I can save you guys a lot of time. Just go ahead and not run your second lap.
Make sure you get it the first round.
One and done. Carson Hocevar, 3 Bristol starts, best start of 7th here last fall. This is Chili's Ride the Dente Chevrolet. That's Chili's Presidente Margarita.
Oh boy, let's go get us one of them this afternoon.
That's the key problem. You said afternoon. That's an early start, Clint. That'd make for a long night or a short one.
Look at him swatting bees in there in the corner.
You might see these eyes get bigger here.
Yep.
Look at him lean into the banking of that corner. Looks good, they say. Still is good.
15:01 for Hocevar.
Really good, 3 and 4.
He picked up 3/10 from practice.
You see him getting loose. Oh, whoa!
Bye-bye.
Take care of it. Take care of it. 0-1, first lap.
Really loose again, getting into 3. I think that's the key corner, and it's important too. If it comes out from underneath of you and you get loose in 3 and 4 on that first lap, it's going to ruin the second lap too.
It's unbelievable how everything is playing out exactly like it did last year. When I go back and read my notes through my notebook, when I look at qualifying, it is word for word of what is happening right now.
Cody Ware next up for Rick Ware Racing. Has one Bristol start, came in 2022. This is the Arby's Ford. I still hear James Earl Jones every time I say Arby's.
Big roast beef.
Oh, yeah.
All I can think of.
Right.
You guys go get that. I'm going to go back and get a Dente.
.1566 on his first lap. That's within a tenth of where he practiced.
Car looks pretty stuck, though. Looked pretty comfortable for him.
Second lap quicker. Travis Geisler, Joey Logano talk it over, and here's Kyle Larson. He has a pole and 2 wins here at Bristol. Finished top 6 in his last 6 Bristol starts. He was second last night in the truck race, and he's on the pole for today's Xfinity race. Busy guy this weekend. Here's the HendrickCars.com Chevrolet.
Well, you know the commitment's going to be there. This is going to be a great indication of the speed in this racetrack. A lot of green here, almost a tenth of the good. Stuck in 3 and 4. Kevin looked pretty good off the Ford.
Yeah, and he's going to get the pole by almost a tenth right here. So that's a great lap by Kyle Larson. He did a great job of putting the car in the right spot, and he's going to go and try to get another one.
That is 0.2 of a second faster than he practiced. A 93 and a 98. Now that is the fastest lap ever run at Bristol in this 7th generation Cup car. Whew. His teammate Alex Bowman won the pole here last fall. Finished top 10 in the last 2 races here. The Miami pole winner this year in the Ally Chevy for Hendrick Motorsports.
If the track conditions stay the same, in other words, that tire wear is extreme like we saw last spring, like we saw in practice earlier, Kevin, I think starting up front right now is merely for the pit road selection.
Yeah, it definitely will allow you to.
Because I don't think you can get wide enough to slow him down enough. In other words, eventually you're going to get passed by somebody because you're pulling the reins back in this race.
1491. That is 0.3 faster than Alex Bowman practiced. And he goes to the top of the board. 10 of 39 drivers have qualified here at Bristol.
Some moments call for simple comforts. The perfect movie, a bucket of popcorn, and quiet relax
is going to stop you from winning.
Later today.
Mike William Byron will go out second to last today in qualifying, a little further down the speed charts in practice than we're accustomed to seeing you go. But your 2 teammates just went out and went first and second. How much can you lean on what they just did?
Yeah, for us at practice, we just merged out into a bunch of traffic, so that wasn't ideal, but I thought our long run speed was good. But yeah, you're just seeing a lot like it was here in the spring last year, you know, with tire wear. So as far as qualifying goes, I think it's pretty normal stuff. Just try to hook the bottom and make a good lap. So I think the pole's going to be pretty quick. It's already in the 14s right now, so I'm sure probably an 80, somewhere around there is going to be the pole, so hopefully we have enough.
Pretty normal stuff. You make it sound so simple. I promise you it's not normal. You guys are doing some crazy stuff out there, Mike.
John Hunter Nemechek, the Dollar Tree Toyota, just ran his 2 laps. He is 8th fastest. His best ever finish on a non-drafting track came in this race last year, 6th. Cole Custer's next up in the HaasTooling.com Ford. He won an Xfinity race here last fall. Started 11th in his last Cup start here. Finished 8th.
Yeah, and these guys need to get going. They're buried in the points. Need something good to happen.
Pretty free through 1 and 2. I think he made some adjustments. Hooked the white line or the bottom a lot better. 3 and 4. Is he going to go for 2? I think he listened to you, Kevin. We're done.
Well, I think he went in the corner and it just slid up the racetrack, and he was like, that's it.
9th quickest for Custer. Next up, Michael McDowell. McDowell started top 10 in 2 of his last 3 Bristol races. Won the pole at Las Vegas. This is the Delaware Life Chevrolet. Now, why are all these cars in Group 1? It's because the metric to determine the groups and the qualifying order has changed this year. It is made up of 70% of your last race finish and 30% your current point standings position.
Start to see a little sun on the racetrack right here, Clint.
And the problem is I can't figure out what that means for the grip level in your car.
Well, I think that the ambient temperature is still down, and I think that concrete surface, the surface temperature is still way down, so I don't think that changes a whole lot.
McDowell 15:07 on his second lap, 5th fastest for his Chevy. Here's his teammate at Spire Motorsports, Justin Haley. 5 Bristol starts with a best of 19th. This is the Nations Guard Chevrolet. This is an F&I, or finance and insurance program, for car dealers.
So interesting to see the grip level difference between everything that is happening from the first lap to the second lap. It just seems like, go ahead, Mike. Fourth quick there. And I think that, you know, the second lap, as a driver, you're so programmed to go out there and try to get a little bit more out of the car. But these tires just keep falling off as you run them, and every lap is going to be an adjustment to be able to try to adapt as a driver. But I think in qualifying, you better get it on the first one.
We've established that.
Yeah.
The only reason you're running 2 is because you messed up the early part of the first one. If you mess up in 3 and 4 in the first one, it's going to ruin the second one anyway. I think you still pull over. You're done.
Austin Dillon has a best Bristol start of 5th in 2020, a best finish here of 4th. He's got an Xfinity win. And for Richard Childress Racing, he's driving the Get Bioethanol Chevrolet.
I mean, but the part that I just don't understand is, you know, it's going to be a tire conservation game. Why do you want to put that extra lap on your tires? I'm a little frustrated, Clint.
Greed, that's why. Felt really good that first lap, but man, if I had another crack at it, I think I can get you just a little bit more.
And his second lap was quicker.
See? No,
I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
Second lap was slower by 0.2.
Yeah, 0.2 slower.
Yep.
See what?
Let's say gentleman's C. All right. Chase Briscoe started 10th in 3 of the last 4 Bristol races, including an outside front row start in the Bass Pro Shops Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Well, he's got a car that has been really, really good at this racetrack. We've heard Chase talk about the differences in things inside the car, with all the little differences, nuances from team to team. So, but they've been really good at this racetrack.
I think Chase Briscoe and this new opportunity, I think it's pretty standard for a new, opportunity with a new driver and a new combination to be run the way they are. They're fast. They show glimpse of excellence already, but still make some mistakes and will be cleaned up in races to come. So I'm happy with the speed and the progress of the 19 that I see out of Chase Briscoe.
First lap for Briscoe, a 10.5 faster than he practiced. He is 7th right now. Shane Van Gisbergen making his first Bristol Cup start. None of these Trackhouse cars looked really good in practice. Loose, all 3 of them. This is the Safety Culture Chevrolet Mobile First Operations Platform.
Missed the entrance just a little bit, slipped up.
Yeah, you cannot miss the entrance. You got to get that thing locked on the bottom of the racetrack and get it into that slot in that grip compound around the corner.
But if that thing's coming out from underneath of you, you have to unwind the wheel. You can't just keep turning the wheel because it's going to spin out. And that's what I saw out of him. Loose in, and he just kind of let it have its head and let it ease up the banking a little bit.
This looks like a much better lap. Picks it up to 15:56.
A lot of work to do.
Ricky Stenhouse, fastest in Group 1 of practice. 2 top 10 starts at Bristol. He rolled off 4th here in this race in 2018, and he's a 2-time Bristol runner-up. You can't miss the Sonny D Chevrolet.
No, we definitely like that bright orange. It's easy to pick out, and right now Ricky needs to hit that first lap like he did in practice.
This is a grip it and rip it scenario, and I need Ricky Stenhouse behind the wheel. He is that guy.
Gonna be close.
See?
Ooh, second, 14:92.
There you go.
Good lap.
Shut that thing off.
To Bowman's 14:91.
That's a good start to the weekend. That car unloaded fast, starting up front. Now we got to figure out how to get to the end.
That's a good feeling, and you heard him talk in his interview earlier about going too hard in practice, but that going too hard is also a benefit to what he just did in qualifying right there, knowing how to drive the car fast like that.
Noah Gragson, 2 Bristol starts with the best finish at 12th last fall after starting 16th. 2 Xfinity wins here. This is the Rural King Ford. You ever been in one of those stores? It's kind of like Walmart for farmers and people in rural communities. These stores are huge. They got everything.
Buddy.
There's one in Martinsville.
Whoa, I tell you what they don't have is any grip.
No.
That thing is out from underneath of him. Did a great job holding on to it. Now we got to try to go for another one. This is the scenario I was talking about. When you mess up coming to the green flag of the second lap, it's going to hurt both laps. But I love farming. I love the industry. I love the people behind it, the families, the stories, and I certainly love me a good farm store.
Hmm. All right, here comes that upside down steering wheel, Mike.
Ryan Priest.
I can't get over the upside down steering wheel, Clint.
8 Bristol races with the best start here of 14th last September. This is the Boost Kroger Ford. That's a annual membership program for Kroger stores.
I'm going to go to the steering wheel for a second. It works perfect in perfect scenarios. If you get loose, say you spin out or something, and that oblong wheel is going around, it is extremely hard to keep up with.
You know what I see here? He's got a faster steering box than most.
Or he's holding on to it, Tyler, is what I see.
Well, he's not turning the wheel nearly as much as a lot of the drivers.
I see him very nervous with the wheel. You see his shoulders, his arm, he's really holding on to the wheel tight. That tells me that car's extremely loose. He's also very twitchy with the wheel.
Priest is 13th with a 15:29.
From racetrack to road, Mobil 1 Motor Oils make whatever you drive.
More smoke. Finish. Now streaming on Prime Video. That MX-5 Cup Series, those guys are wild. That's going to be a fun watch. All right, we move into Group 2 with Eric Jones, who got his first Cup pole at Bristol in August of 1917. 3 top 5 starts this year. This is the Advent Health Toyota for Legacy Motor Club.
Clint, we were talking during the break. Mike mentioned the rack and pinion, the speed and the choices that you have here. And I always like the fastest rack or steering box that you could possibly pick, because I always felt like you could make smaller adjustments to kind of walk the car through the corner when you didn't have to turn the wheel as far. But you like the opposite, it sounded like, at some of the places, not necessarily here, just to be able to be a little bit smoother.
Well, super speedway, yes, but here I wanted it even faster than I could get. I like the fact and the affordability that these guys, the options, if you will, that they can make it even faster. I think there's 4 different speeds that they can choose from with the rack and pinion. And then the valving as well. You can make it stiffer, turning it harder or lighter, easier, like basically more power steering or less power steering. A lot of things that you can play with that rack and pinion steering with this newer car. And I think there's a lot of teams and drivers that have different thoughts and use it different ways here at Bristol.
This is Ty Dillon for Colleague Racing, the Okuma Chevrolet. They build CNC machine tools. Ty has 11 Bristol starts, best of 22nd in 2017.
I've been pretty impressed with this car this year. They've had several weeks where they've had really good runs. So Ty and this team are doing a great job.
7th right now.
They're doing a good job down the hill there. I mean, it's Allmendinger, all of them they're carrying speed to the racetrack, and you guys are taking care of business on the track all day long, staying in it.
Daniel Suarez, best Bristol start at 12th, best finish of 8th here. This is the Choice Privileges Chevrolet. That's the loyalty program of Choice Hotels.
Much like Van Gisbergen, had his hands full in practice. Very loose race cars. See if they got him tight enough. Looks a lot better, Kevin. Careful getting into 3. There you go.
Well, it's better, but it's
now is it fast?
Yeah. I was going to say it's better, but it's slower.
Well, it's 13th. It's, but that's a whole different car than what he practiced with.
I think he probably left some on the table, and trust me, folks, as loose as that car was and out of control as it was in practice, it doesn't surprise me to see him be a little bit gingerly with it on that lap 1.
Ross Chastain wanted to see that lap to have an idea of what he might have after watching his teammate qualify.
Yeah, and that's how this works in these qualifying sessions. They learn every car that goes on the racetrack. You especially learn when your teammates go out on the racetrack. So it's definitely a progression to see what you need to do, and the later you go, the better you have something in your head to go out and shoot for.
A.J. Allmendinger started outside the front row here in 2012, and he has an Xfinity win. He's in the Grizzly Chevrolet.
Much like we just talked about with Ty Dillon, this is that other car I was talking about. Allmendinger's done a fantastic job this year. There it is again.
4th for Allmendinger.
I'd be happy with that. Yeah, they're going to.
Plenty.
Just from being able to tolerate driving the car around the racetrack, they pop out from underneath you so fast when they decide to push or slide. I mean, it's a test of your patience from the driver's seat when you have to run the second lap and you just don't know when it's gonna slide. And most likely it's gonna run slower.
Yep. Well, here comes the old fighter jet. This is Bubba Wallace, who started top 10 in 2 of the last 3 Bristol races. The U.S. Air Force Toyota for Team 2311.
Been doing a great job this year. Probably the best year he's ever had starting out, without a doubt. Just had speed each and every week off the truck, qualifying well, cascades right into the race.
15th though, 15:21, and he practiced at a 15:29.
Not what I was selling right there, but hey, again, this is a good team. You're not going to keep them.
Yeah, and all the weeks are not going to be good. You're not going to qualify good every week. This is way too competitive to be. And with this Gen 7 car, the inconsistencies of what you do from a week-to-week basis can be very up and down, as we've seen with our winners, Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin, and those guys. Won 2 in a row, 3 in a row, and then struggle the next couple of weeks.
And going back to what Larry was talking about earlier in practice, right? In practice session where we saw this fall off and tires wearing out and things like that, I'm not sold on the fact that these cars, these teams maybe aren't electing to try to give up a little bit of speed to make these tires last longer.
Todd Gilliland has 2 top 10 starts this year in the Love's Travel Stops Ford. 21st on his first lap at a 15:31. Gilliland practiced at 15:53, so that's a 2/10 pickup right there.
Yeah, and I think back to your comment, Clayton, I think a lot of these teams, we've heard them talk as to what the decision is, as to what style of race they were going to come to, and be able to dial their cars into that. So you're kind of guessing. You don't know if the rubber is going to be on the racetrack or if it's just going to stay clean and it's going to turn into that tire conservation race.
Well, here's Gilliland's teammate Zane Smith. Has 2 Bristol Cup starts, a best of 16, 2 top 10 starts this year. And the Aaron's Lucky Dog is back on his front row Ford.
Oh, Michael will be happy about that.
And it makes me happy. Michael, every time I look up and see Michael, whether it's on the grid walk or anywhere. It just makes me happy. So seeing this car reminds me of him, and Zane's doing a great job as well with Aaron's.
He is.
Seeing him back in the sport makes me happy. Always did a great job. Marketing geniuses. Found a lot of leverage within the sport of NASCAR, and back at it again.
15:13 on his first lap, and that's 18/100ths better than he practiced. Bowman still with the top spot as we move to Ty Gibbs, coming off his best finish of the season, 9th at Darlington.
I think we've finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel with Ty Gibbs and company on the 54 car. Finding some speed. You see that 13th, 13th, 11th. Fantastic. A lot better with the speed off the racetrack and qualifying. He's doing a good job, a better job of, sealing the deal in the race. I think you're going to start to see some forward progression out of this 54 car.
All right, the Monster Energy Toyota practiced at 15:26. Whoa, 14:96. 3/10 pickup.
Man, I'm always nervous when I really stick up, and say positive things and sell somebody, and he backed it up. Thank
you sold it right that time.
Way to go, baby.
And it's those small victories, right?
Yep.
To be able to get the ship headed in the right direction, you got to start qualifying good. You got to have a couple of decent finishes to be able to put yourself in a position to get into the right qualifying and practice groups.
And don't think those teammates out there winning races, right? That cascades down throughout the company. He's learning from those guys, the best in the business. Denny Hamlin won the last 2 races. That all funnels right back throughout everybody. Everybody wins.
Feast or famine? Talking about Kyle Busch, not Cheddar's that's on his Chevrolet. He has 8 Bristol wins, but he's finished 20th or worst in the last 5 races here. 2 poles at Bristol.
The most fun race car driver I've ever watched around here. And I've seen some greats. Kevin, I've watched you, I've watched them all. Tony Stewart, just keep going down the list. Nobody gets around here better than Kyle Busch.
Oh,
whoa, he's going around.
Hang on.
Gonna keep it out of the wall. Turn 3, got loose, chased it up the racetrack.
And worst of all, throw that set of tires away.
And
so now you're down to 9 sets.
Well, you can go take one from somebody else, but it's going to be worn out from practice.
Yep.
Watch this car. Doesn't take much. Did a good job of staying on the throttle, locking it down in the right place. Probably shouldn't have ran that second lap.
12th fastest on lap 1.
Well, these cars, and we've seen it last year and we see it this year, as you make that second lap going into turn 3, how many cars have we seen get loose? And he tried to just ride that looseness to be able to.
It's in the game. Nascar Thunder 2004.
To be able to finish the lap, but I mean, at this point, you know that the second lap is not going to be as good.
Joey Logano won the pole here in 2010 to become the youngest Cup pole winner ever.
Oh,
look out!
Oh man!
Some right rear damage.
He did a good job the wall saved him there, but he hit it hard. A lot of damage to the right rear of this race car. Haven't seen anybody get that been out of shape off of 2, Kevin.
Yeah, a lot of times when that type of scenario happens, that thing almost pops out of a hole over there, and if you got a bunch of wheel in it and you're in the throttle, when it does pop out of off the banking in the corner up onto the straightaway, sometimes it'll just snap.
Very lucky that car didn't get both ends of the race car tore up. Should have went down and hit that inside wall hard. He kept it out of that, kept it straight somehow. Go fix that, baby.
A spin for Kyle Busch, and Joey Logano meets with the wall. Qualifying continues after this.
The Philistines have assembled.
Now, look at how low Joey Logano is on the apron.
Too low. He's actually touching that apron, and you see the left front tire deflecting right there. Got away with it coming to the green flag off of turn 4, but he's going to do the same thing down here in turn 2. You're going to see the left front tire dip on the apron. It's going to unload that car.
That's too much.
Right there. And off she goes.
You saw it hook that left front. I noticed it off of 4, and I was like, man, that's going to probably cost him a little bit of time. And then it really cost him off of 2. Trying to get it all. Got a little too much.
Well, here's his teammate, Austin Cindric. Snap-on Tools with a lot of folks coming to Bristol here tomorrow for the race. His best Bristol finish is 13th. Best start is 9th. He ran a 15:09 in practice.
Yeah, and think about what we've just watched. We just watched Joey Logano almost spin out.
2 in a row.
And we watched Kyle Busch spin out. So
15:14, right on top of where he practiced.
It is.
That car's loose getting into 3. Sun's back out too. Make a note of that.
So edgy.
A little slower. Alex Bowman having the long wait to see if he holds on to that front row starting spot. Now something in plaid. The Busch Light flannel Chevrolet for Ross Chastain, whose best Bristol start in 9 attempts is 12th twice.
Well, tell you what, the weekend we've had, get them flannels back out.
I was just going to say that plaid on that Busch Light flannel would be pretty nice and warm this weekend.
Yes. Last weekend tank top. This weekend flannel.
He was down in the apron, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, you want to cover that. You want to cover that yellow line, but it's a fine line between covering the line and touching the apron.
Well, that's because that line is on the racetrack. The black is not. That's flat. We saw that left front squat on Logano, and that's too far.
Now this car was evil in practice, and Chastain, that was an exploratory lap, 29th.
Well, it's not going to be much better this lap.
Picks up 1 spot.
They got work to do. 19th their best car, Suarez. Chastain 28th. Van Gisbergen 29th. He's down on it as well. Got lucky. You saw how loose it made him.
Here's the BuildSubmarines.com Ford for Chris Buescher. Started 12th here in 2016. He's finished top 10 in 3 of his last 4 Bristol races, including a win.
Man gets it done behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Quietly lets all the talk happen on the racetrack.
And that stat probably stands up at a lot of the racetracks that we go to with his consistency and the things that he does do behind that wheel. Just so good at grinding away throughout the races.
Perfect sponsor for him, Submarines. Effective and nobody knows, just real quiet.
He's a 10th and a half better than he practiced at 15:24.
Checker, set on purple.
Not much blinking in them eyes. Not much time to blink here.
And it's just, you know how Bristol is in general, and you put these Gen 7 cars on the racetrack, and the conditions that we're in, they just become so edgy.